Hello, world. It's day 2 of our quantum becoming event, and I'm going to do 14 days of Facebook Live videos on our quantum becoming. So, yesterday on day 1, February 1st, I did an overview of all the areas that we're evolving in. And then in the event page on Facebook, I put a list of what I'd cover each day. And so I said, today, day 2, I'm going to start with infinite intelligence. So today we're looking at infinite intelligence and playing with it. So I thought, well, how will we start to look at this, the evolution of intelligence? So the first thing that popped up in my mind was, well, I researched Genius for 3 years, researched it, wrote about it, taught it, and I still coach it and stuff like that. But one of the things I read was that, IQ, the measurement of intelligence, right, which is primarily based on memory type stuff. That's how it's measured. Um, and I suppose the capacity, I suppose it's more than that too. But generally, that's how it is. And they were saying that the IQ of the human race is actually accelerating extraordinarily all the time. But they keep the measurements standard in relationship to the previous. So it still looks like 150 IQ today is the same as 150 IQ 40 years ago, but it's not. And I don't have the thing that verifies this, but they were saying that actually what would have been 150 IQ back then would probably be something like 180 today, et cetera, et cetera. But the chart still shows it as 150. So actually, I'm saying that because to say that our intelligence is already amping up and evolving. Now, add into that the number of people who really run themselves by intuition, not just the mind intelligence, which I happen to think that the brain is incredible. It's a miraculous thing. And I happen to think that intuition is amazing as well. But what I'm going to talk about infinite intelligence is way past brain or intuition. So I think that today intuition is very well accepted, whereas 20 years ago it was kind of like poo-pooed a bit, like, intuition, no big, is that really real? How do you know it's not based on logic? That's stuff that I grew up with. But infinite intelligence is much more than all of that. Infinite intelligence for me is where I chose some years ago to plug my system, my brain, my heart, my core, my being, into the universal intelligence. And I have the feeling that the universe, as a sentient, intelligent force, seems to know stuff. And it knows it on a level that's not like brain intelligence. It knows it on a level that seems to see things that we as humans often don't see or recognize because we're trained to think linearly and logically and even sometimes intuitively. But the infinite intelligence of the universe, if I can call it that, by the way, I'm not attached to terms, but if I can call it that, the infinite intelligence of the universe, it has a design in it. It has an understanding of synergy and possibility and why things happen and how they move. And I guess I started that into years ago, as many of us have, by learning to channel, by learning to ask bigger questions, by, plugging in kind of thing. And I used to talk about this as plugging the brain into the big brain internet of the infinite, of the universe. And that is one way of talking about it. I think I would describe it quite differently today. I think that for me, I would see it more as the infinite intelligence and I share space. That's such a weird way of talking about it, isn't it? But we share capacity. Uh, I I can ask questions and bring things through that are beyond my current understanding. Now, it is a skill that you hone, that kind of stuff, and of course there are things around it, beliefs that you have to play with. But one of the joys for me about infinite intelligence is that I am not left to run on my own devices anymore, trying to figure things out. No, no, I permanently now live in a space of a kind of magically synergistic universe of possibilities in which everything that happens has purpose, potential, and possibility attached to it. And so it allows me not to live in my mind. And you know how in your mind sometimes where it's like a record playing over and over, it gets stuck and then you get stuck to the past and you have all these thoughts and judgments of yourself and all that kind of stuff. I have none of that anymore. And that is based on I think, my connection to infinite intelligence. And of course, it would be based as well on my ability to raise my vibrational frequency and to live in that high vibe space. Those are two factors that really play a part in this. But now I can understand the greater why of things. That's one of the advantages that has come to me in being connected with infinite intelligence, in letting that be the stream of intelligence that directs my life and my choices. So when something happens in life, I could use Centauri's triple bypass heart operation last March. Almost, it was like 11 months ago that happened. Shocker, one night, call the ambulance, off he goes, lockdowns, can't get near him. But I didn't do what most people would do in that instance, which is panic, cry. No, I didn't feel any of that. Oh yes, I had some tears. Yes, I had some thoughts and moments and stomach turnings, but I went immediately to the infinite intelligence and said, what is this for? Now, I know my husband to be an awesome, incredible super creator who's up to big things, especially up to big things around the sourcing of our physicality. And so when he told me then, we had phone calls back and forth, and he told me they were sending him in for an emergency triple bypass operation in Bristol at the heart hospital. I immediately got on the phone with my buddies. I contacted all my buddies all over the world and said, hey, can you line up with me? Because I think what is happening is something bigger than just my husband's having an operation. And when I asked the infinite intelligence what that was, it said to me in the moment, this was during the operation, and we were all tuned in together, and we were all doing the bigger work together. And I saw that he was recreating the human physicality condition, that it was something that was a quantum leap for us. And I was like, yes, boom, I am on that game with you, Centauri. And all my friends were doing it as well, and he came through it just fine. And it was hard. Believe me, it was hard. Even the recovery's been, has challenges and all of that. But like, I never felt trauma from it, nor did he. By the way, it was really hard in the hospital, so yes, he experienced some of that distress, but neither one immediately, when he came home and we went to work energy on it and all that stuff, and using the infinite intelligence all through it, immediately we were both in a different stream of possibility of what was happening. And neither one of us, I don't think Centauri would say he carries trauma from it. I don't. And I kind of knew at the time that even had he gone, I would have been okay-ish. That sounds very strange to say, that I would have been okay-ish, but one of the things that has come from it, there's brilliant things have come from it. We've focused more on super health together for both of us. We've become closer than ever. I love him more. I'm thrilled he's with me still. That would have been my preferred choice of action. But to bring this back to the infinite intelligence, it's the intelligent understanding of something greater than ourselves that carried us through that in a not normal human way. And that's what I love about infinite intelligence, that it opens you up to be something greater than you currently know yourself as. That you and the universe of intelligent design, of a dreaming up of the possibility of us, of the greater purpose of things, can be in a relationship, a synergistic relationship, which allows you to be more of yourself, to partake in a role, or even roles, plural, where you make a difference in the world. And these are just examples of how infinite intelligence shows up for me. There are so many ways. I use it in my coaching practice because I don't call myself a psychic. I don't want to be. I'm not a future predictor. I don't want to be. But what I love to do with the infinite intelligence is future gaze pathways for people, because I believe we create our own futures, right? So with future gazing, what I do is somebody says, well, I've got something coming up where I could choose this path or this path or this, I could do different things. What should I do? So I kind of future gaze down the pathways. I let the infinite intelligence show me, well, if you chose this pathway, what might it look like? If you chose this pathway, what might it look like? If you chose this pathway, what might it look like? And I can actually sense then and give them insights into which is the optimal pathway. They still make the choice. We create our own futures, absolutely. I don't think you can predict them anymore, but there are some people who do that beautifully, and bravo to them. But I don't want to lock people into a prediction. I really believe that we are our own intelligent designers of the possibilities of our life. And allowing myself to run on infinite intelligence, as opposed to my just brain intelligence, what's in there already that I've learned and experienced over my life. With the infinite intelligence, I have a greater access to the why of things, that then life doesn't occur to me chaotically at all. I think there are many, many more benefits than that. Part of that being you have this grand relationship with the universe, the force, if you want to call it that, whatever you want to call it, that this intelligent design system. And once I've made it's not just a relationship, I am wildly in love with the universe, the force, whatever. And once you've made that relationship and you're sharing insights and understanding and knowing and all of that kind of thing, that doesn't just come from here, it comes from something greater, something grander, then, oh my gosh, the sky's the limit. You can do anything you want to do. Now, I also use it to pluck ideas from the genius field, to come up with innovation. It just pops for me now. And I like the popping stuff. Like, yes, there's things in here, in my core knowing, gut, intuition, mind experience, that is good stuff as well. But the really great stuff, it just pops at me from here, like this. It'll just come to me out of nowhere. Like I wouldn't have ever thought of that. And I think anybody who's studied genius would talk about that a lot of the greatest genius, the dancing, the music, the writing, whatever form of genius is yours, gardening or cooking or whatever, the greatest of it just comes to you out of nowhere. And I think that's the access to infinite intelligence. I'm going to talk more in a future one about genius and innovation and how they're evolving as well. So I won't get into that too much in today's video. But you can see I'm like #1 fan of infinite intelligence. Because it's so practical. I mean, really, I've given you a few examples, but this is not some, oh, I close my eyes and it go way out there and I'm not here, and wouldn't that be nice someday? That's how it used to be when I was kind of like first doing all this stuff. I would go way out there and channel a bit of stuff that wasn't even practical, but good stuff. I loved it. But one day I just decided I can't keep channeling some other entities or consciousness telling me stuff. We have to become this ourselves. And so I stopped cold. Missed it, but I'm glad I did, because then the infinite intelligence and I became one. We work in synergy together. We have a relationship. I am its, one of its, what would you call it? I don't know. I'm here for it. Whatever it needs and wants, I'm here for that. And as a result, it gives me opportunities. It gives me I can sit down and write a book in probably a week, like most definitely 3 weeks if I'm still doing all the rest of the stuff I'm doing. I can write a whole book in 3 weeks now, because the universe wants to say something. I'm not channeling because it's sort of coming from me and it's all of it combined, and I just sit down and it just flows from me. And when you're working with the infinite intelligence or genius flow, it has this deep, profound poeticness to it that's not what your brain would create. I can always tell when I'm writing from my brain, because I have to edit a lot. And when I'm writing from this kind of infinite flow, I'm in a state of awe and wonder and delight the whole time watching myself. And I know I'm co-writing it with the infinite, with the genius flow, but at the same time, I'm like, whoa, look at that. That's really cool. Oh my God, there's just so many practicalities to this. Okay, so last piece, and then I'll stop. So how do you connect with infinite intelligence? Well, this is my way. Okay, there may be a gazillion ways, as many ways as there are, beings on the planet kind of thing. But my way is, when I originally was doing it, I would take a deep breath, allow myself to expand, and I would plug my brain, heart, intuition, body into the grand infinite internet consciousness of the universe. So it was just like a plug-in kind of thing, just like, plugging your computer into the internet, you could say. So that was when I first started, and so then I'd get stuff, I'd come back to me. I'd get stuff, I'd come back to me. It was like plugging in. But then one day I said, hey, I want to live with this permanently. So now the universe and I are together. I become the universe. I become the quantum field. I become the all, or whatever you want to call it. So it looks like this. And you know what? Here's what's really wonderful about that. That is the most natural state of intelligence and being that there probably is. And I don't know why the world thinks that is so weird. Because a lot of people say, oh, she's closing her eyes and she's connecting and she's, they think it's weird. Or they have over the years anyways with me. But it's not weird. It's a natural state of who we are as intelligent, infinite beings, as part of Earth, nature, universe, all of it. And there is an inherent intelligent design in that whole thing, that when you plug into that, when you make that how you live your life, then amazing things come with it. Just amazing things come with it. So I recommend that you find your own unique way to plugging in or becoming it all or making a relationship with it, however you want to do that. There are no wrong ways to do this. You will do it your way. And that is the right thing. Because we all have this unique mastery inside ourselves that's a natural thing as well. And once you allow that to go into flow, the world's your oyster and the sky's your limit. You can do anything. So that's it for today, Infinite Intelligence. I look forward to the next 12 that we're going to do on a variety of topics, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.